Welcome to The Shadow Side with Safrianna, the podcast where we illuminate what others too often keep hidden in the dark. I'm your host, Safrianna Luna, and I believe that true growth and healing happen when we're brave enough to explore the shadows. As you listen, may you find greater understanding and awareness around your personal stories and collective trends. Take care of yourself, and let's dive in. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of The Shadow Side with Safrianna. I am Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide, and I am so delighted to have one of my new friends in the world join me today, Jess Marie of the Merakai Method. Absolutely incredible Vedic counselor. I can't wait to talk today because I'm going to ask you a billion questions, I'm sure. But Jess Marie, would you be so kind as to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, so I am a Vedic counselor, and obviously those questions will be answered around what that actually means. But I've committed myself to becoming a healer, guide, teacher of sorts, and it just so happens that this is the most aligned path. I'm non-clinical. There's no licensure for the Vedic sciences right now because it's not accepted in society as Chinese medicine or homeopathy and things of that nature. We are here, and it's very holistic and it's very grounded. My practice is heart-led. And again, I've committed my life to becoming the practitioner that I am today. So I'm just very fortunate to connect with like-minded souls like you and be on this path and helping more people.
Yes.
I'm just here and excited.
And thank you. You're such a well house of information. You just have all of this knowledge about the Vedic sciences that it goes beyond even some of what I've seen in the world, which is,
right,
of course, yoga. You think yoga, you think getting on a mat, and that's part of the larger Vedic sciences, but there's so much more. There's the nutrition, there's the body-based stuff, there's the mental, emotional, spiritual realms. So when you are introducing the concept of the Vedic sciences to people, like, where is your starter point? How do you explain what the heck it means to people?
Yeah, so I basically start out with the Vedas being the origin for all of these other sciences and modalities, and whether it's health or psychology or neuroscience, doesn't matter. There is an origin to everything, and the Vedas just so happen to have that seat. And I've come across a lot of Oriental medicine practitioners, acupuncturists, and they're surprised to even find out from me that the Vedas basically where that all came from. And there's so many things that stem from the Vedas. And it's the first health science that we know of. And Ayurveda and yoga are what they are called. Upavedas just means secondary or and of the Vedas, meaning that they basically became what they are as sciences after the Vedas came into existence, basically. When people have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, but they're interested in Ayurveda or they're interested in yoga, for example, because Ayurveda is second, but yoga, everybody knows what yoga is now. Mm-hmm. Yoga is not what it is when it's being spoken of or taught in modern times. That's just absolutely not what it is. And I come with a very compassionate, open heart and explain to them that yoga is a very foundational framework of how to be in this existence. It's not physical postures and breathing. It's the sum of the whole. Mm-hmm. It's not parts of something. Yoga is a whole 8-limb system. It's something that was formed from the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali. It is something that has very much given light to the mental well-being, emotional well-being side to these Vedic sciences. And a key fact is that there's technically no psychology of what we refer to psychology today in our world with transpersonal, Jung, all these different, lineages. There's no Vedic psychology. It's yoga, it's Ayurveda, it's Vedanta. I could go on and on because it's integrated. The Vedas are integrative sciences and systems, and these are ancient spiritual texts. They're not religious. but they're very much how to be in this existence, how to be a good person, how to live the most optimal way. And the difference between Ayurveda and yoga is that Ayurveda is the health science, the science of life. It's the actual science of health. Whereas yoga is, okay, we have this health foundation. How do we actually apply these things in an everyday way, in a physical way, in a transcendental way? It's all integrated with each other. And I think that answered your question. I could go on and on and on.
I think, yes, you, as I mentioned, Jess Marie has a lot of knowledge, like encyclopedic. I was blown away. So I did have the pleasure of having a session with Jess Marie, who absolutely nailed what was going on with my doshas and stuff. So it's fun, but there is a science here to this. And what I'm hearing is, like, we really try to simplify things down in Western culture, and we try to pull them apart and piecemeal them. And so you need this, and you need this, and you need this, and you need this. The Vedic sciences are like, here is the whole system of understanding for being here in a human existence. Here's a framework. And so we don't have to separate out all the mental health psychology piece, because that's being cared for in the rest of the entire system. It's holistic.
Right.
It's not reductive. It is holistic. Yeah.
No, we can't truly have integrity when we say now that we are yoga teachers or that we practice yoga, because 99% of the time, no one is actually a yoga teacher in modern times, unless you're in India and you have lineage and commitment to a guru. So that's why I'm such an advocate for the Vedas, because there's such an immense amount of opportunity to learn more about yourself and to practice these things with integrity and just respect its true essence. And I've taken this path, and even though I was introduced at an early age, I've chosen this path because of how holistic and integrative and real it is. It's not just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and it's not confusing, and it's not inaccessible. It's also quite accessible, because it also looks at this existence of being human as a being. You are a whole being. You have all these different aspects to yourself. And a part of my practice is nourishing and developing a relationship with yourself, nourishing that relationship so that you have a broader understanding of anything in regards to one's health. Mm-hmm. And I specialize in the mental, psychological, behavioral side of things. It's quite wonderful. And I've done my due diligence, and I continue to do my due diligence, because there's always something to learn and share. And I'm just so grateful for it all.
Yeah. And one of our comments that just came in was, it sounds like North America takes the whole Vedic trail mix and then finds the most actionable M&M pieces to help fix people. I love that metaphor, because like the Vedas really are, it's like, again, holistic. This is the whole meal. And then people are like, I don't want any of that. I want the M&Ms. Like, I want the really shiny, sweet part of it. And we're all holistic beings. And you shared something when we were deciding on our topic, which was that Ayurveda, the Vedic sciences, yoga, all of it, like everything under this umbrella, can't be standardized, and it can't be simplified, because it's so unique to each person. There's building blocks, but everybody's building blocks are going to look completely different. So can you share a little bit more about how, okay, this is a science, but there is no one answer?
Yeah, so we're so used to that, right? We're so used to the modern healthcare being one size fits all, this medication, this herb, this physical therapy. It could be anything. It makes us feel better. Mm-hmm. It makes us feel better to know that this one thing very much may work for you. But then there is always a small percentage, or a good percentage, of people that will not have the same reaction, effect, experience. So we could talk about Western medicine for days, but we're not going to do that.
We could, though.
We really could. But Ayurveda is about getting to know not only yourself, especially if you're learning about it for yourself, you're becoming a self-healer and you're a guide. I think everybody should become a self-healer and really understand their situation and how to help themselves. And as a counselor, I have to individualize, customize, personalize my approach to any client. It doesn't matter if they're going through a similar thing that I've already helped someone with. It doesn't make any sense for this type of holistic wellness health approach to be standardized to fit some sort of mold, because it gets to know yourself on a very detailed level, as I showed you in just that small session. There's so many details, and understanding the self and all these different aspects. And when it comes to constitution, there's so much misinformation about the doshas and what a constitution is and personalities and body types and things like that. And it's just not that simple. It's not that simple to just say, oh, I'm Pitta. But you're actually all three, technically four. That's a whole different topic. But yes, you do have Pitta qualities. And let's talk about that. And here's some more information that can shine light onto why that is, as well as why that's actually not quite fully true. And so a huge reason why I believe that it hasn't been fully accepted in our medical system, is that just because of that fact, because it is so individualized that it's almost impossible to integrate it into the system that we have now. And I'm all about wanting to change the medical system and health and wellness in so many different ways, not just the system of medicine, but it's going to keep getting blocked because it's so intricate. And I can't sit here and say that this herb is going to help you and 500 million other people. It's just, and I'm using very simple examples just to visualize and help people understand. But Ayurveda very much also points to how, yes, we're all human. Yes, we all have similar experiences and we're experiencing this human existence, but that doesn't mean that we're all the same in terms of health. It doesn't mean that we're all the same in terms of our psychological bodies. It doesn't mean that we all believe in the same thing spiritually. That's why it's not religious. It's very spiritual and it's very inclusive, and it's very much a accessible approach when it comes to spirituality, but it's not based on any sort of religious or spiritual standard. There are standards when it comes to protocols and processes and how to find information and things of that nature, but there isn't a specific pharmaceutical drug that can be prescribed to 1,000 people because of this one thing or symptom that they have. It doesn't match the current system. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, a comment here was, so holistic can still be individualized. Maybe that's what scares people, because it feels like they have to embrace the whole practice, which feels like too much work, right? I get that perspective. Like something like the Vedic sciences and Ayurveda and yoga and all of these things, like it can feel really overwhelming. And what I teach people is that we have 4 bodies, technically 5. We have our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, and our physical, but they're all together, and that's the outside, held by the community. So the community is really the 5th body. And we all need something to nourish each of those. And the Vedic sciences have something for the mind, for the spirit, for the body, for the emotions, and it's integrated, it's holistic in that many of those specific things that you would use, like the nutrition or the movement practices or the breath work or the whatever, is going to target a lot of 2 or more bodies at the same time because it's integrated. So it's holistic, yes, it's still individualized. And I'm wondering if you, just for somebody who's not familiar with this at all, what would be an individual approach for someone? So you're welcome to use me as an example or yourself as an example for like how 2 different people might need something completely different, but they're still approaching it with like similar tools, but they're selecting an individual tool in there that's unique to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anxiety. Let's focus on anxiety. I think that today we're used to try this and see how it works for a while. Doesn't work, come back and we'll figure something out. My approach is to share as much as I possibly can, whether or not it overwhelms you, because I want you to have the information and to be able to go back to it and do your own research and be a part of the healing as much as you would like to be. And for example, ashwagandha, an incredible herb for anxiety. But again, there are certain constitutions and specific doshas that are not going to mesh well with the herb. It's not going to help them as much as another person will. And again, it's not specific. I could not tell you because I have to go deep into the constitution and the chart and figure out the whys and whats. And if I'm creating something around anxiety for someone or two people in this particular example, I would include herbs. I would include movement. I would include things that people can conceptually grasp onto that may seem simple. And then I work my way up. I'm not going to give them a lecture on the origins of this and what this means and who created it. If someone wants to do that, that's why I offer mentorship and other beautiful things. And hopefully writing my book and getting that published one day. But it's not like someone has to do as much learning and education and training as I to understand and grasp these things. I'm just coming from a different perspective of I'm going to make sure that I do the work and I know exactly what I'm talking about and understand my specialties to the core. And I've chosen the specialties. I've chosen because I've healed them in my own way and in the way that I'm helping other people with. So yeah, I think it just really comes down to creating that accessibility and creating the accessibility, but still going at it from like a whole being approach. Mm-hmm. Again, if someone doesn't want the whole pie, that's completely fine. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to be prepared for the whole pie. I'm still going to have it ready to whip out at any moment. And we all learn differently. We all understand things differently. So of course, that needs to be personalized as well. So I am more than happy and have just focused on a single lane, a single limb of all of this. And sometimes that's herbalism. Sometimes someone just wants to understand the herbalism side. They want me to look at their supplements. They want me to explain to them why this Ayurvedic herb and this Western one doesn't go well together. Could be a whole slew of things. Or it could be someone is coming to me with yoga, but specifically the asana, which is the physical postural movements and sequences. And these are very tiny things. Again, herbalism and then asana are such small aspects of the bigger whole, but I am not unwilling to help someone if that is all that they can comprehend right now. If that is all that's really actually helping them and interested in them, let's make it work. And then creating more space within the self to be more open to things, because I'm about embodiment. I'm about integrity. And yoga is a specific example of just, I wish there was more openness to understanding the whole of yoga instead of having it ingrained in everybody's mind that it's a physical movement. There's so much more that you can benefit right now from yoga if you just incorporated all these other aspects. So slow transition if someone is overwhelmed. But then I also just dive in with someone who just wants to, or is just like you already had information. You already had some sort of background in this. So yeah, let's talk about the things you want to talk about. Let's explain the things that need explaining. Let's not go over every little detail that you probably already know. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I'm hearing in this, again, this really individualized approach. So many people, I take ashwagandha, and it's a thing that in the past I've recommended for people until I came into this understanding of, constitution. So there are three main energies that make up our constitutions that are called doshas. So if you're completely new to this, that's like the foundation of understanding our blueprint, our unique makeup of energies that determine how both physically the body takes in information and mentally and emotionally takes in information. So when we start to unpack those individual blueprints, it's, as you're saying, this herb might not work for this person because their constitution, their personal makeup of these forces, 3 to 4 forces, depending on who you talk to, are going to determine how these things may interact with you or are more likely to interact with you. And so I'm such in every single way now, there is no one size fits all approach in literally anything, because we are all such unique beings down to all of these inner workings that, again, if you're completely unfamiliar with the kind of Vedic sciences, they cover a lot of things, and it can get into your herbalism and your nutrition and your movement practices and how you're breathing and what you're doing to handle your stress. Like, there's a lot to it. So I'm curious, we've already covered the misconception that you can just recommend the same herb to everybody, or that each person is going to have the same protocol and things. That's a misconception. It's not a one size fits all approach. But I'm curious if there are some other myths and misconceptions that you run into that people think about the Vedic sciences, Ayurveda, yoga, etc.
Absolutely. Gosh, so many.
What are some of the big ones? I'm curious.
That all yoga teachers and all Ayurvedic practitioners are equally qualified to do what they do. I am very much committed to the advocacy and respecting the true essence of everything that I do and put my hands into. I am not putting myself on a pedestal and saying that I'm the best of the best in any way, shape, or form. That's why I continue to have mentorship and continuing education. I will constantly be doing that probably for the rest of my life, just because I enjoy it and I love learning and I want to be as informed as I possibly can. Is it impossible to know everything? Yes, that is not the goal. It's just to feed that part of myself that loves and needs to be nourished with learning. With that said, there's an extremely low bar when it comes to the education and the training in the Vedic realm in our society today. I hope that it's different in different countries. I know that it's different in the East. I know that they have different standards where there's no virtual nature to these things. It's very much an in-person experience. You're training and learning one-on-one, and there is very much that experience that we've lost. And there's so many reasons why we've lost that. I'll give you an example. I have my degree in Ayurveda, and there wasn't a psychological, emotional, behavioral component, which I was really saddened by, because in everything that I've done, it's always been that. And every assignment, every little thing that I could possibly do to make it aligned with what I'm aspiring to do, I did. And there were times where I felt that I had to, meaning I didn't, correct and make sure to do my own research, and because there was conflicting information, not bashing anything at all. We're all doing our best. But there was one in particular instance where I was meeting with one of the teacher aides, someone that supports the professor, and they were concerned about some of the questions or the answers that I provided for some of the questions on a certain assignment. And we got into this little battle about how I understand what you're saying, but there is no standard, and I am just as correct as the standard answer may be. I actually provided more information because this is my take on it, and I come from a behavioral side and all these different things. It shined a light on how much work we still have to do when it comes to education and training, and how, again, the education and training in the Vedic sciences should be very much more open-ended and flexible and broad, because it's not rigid. There are certain things that are rigid when it comes to, like, the asana, for example. You can't just mosey around on your mat and not try and not breathe. You actually have to put an effort, or you can't just stand there and just say, I'm doing mountain pose for 3 hours. It's just not, that's just not how you
where you want to go.
No, it's just not, it's not going to work. Silly example, but it's true. And there was so much more, and there is so much more that I want to learn and grow. But my hope and my part of my mission is to be a part of that wave of standard in terms of the education and training that is being offered. I wish that more people had this approach. And I know that my specific situation is very different from others. I just so happen to have a personal connection to the Vedas. And when I learned more and more and more, I actually had language to things that I was already thinking and feeling and knowing, innate wisdom. I was just like, okay, I must be a clear channel for the Vedas because this just makes sense. Just completely matched with myself, my being. Yeah. Yes, I would say that is something that I'm very passionate about, want to change.
Thank you for speaking to that, because it's something I actually literally right before we got on today published a thing about when I entered the coaching world, there was this lack of, you don't need credentials. Nope, you just need to own your stuff and show up and share what you know. And it was like the wild frickin' West out there. And I got harmed. Lots of people got harmed. It was not a good time. And I'm not saying there are brilliant coaches out there that do life coaching and business coaching that have a lot of experience, credentials, hands-on apprenticeships, all of it to back themselves up. But I've seen the Udemy, Ayurveda courses for $100 that give you a certificate to say that you can do Ayurvedic work with people. And there is something that's so different. This is something I'm passionate about too, because I've learned from apprenticeship. I've learned from getting a license. I've learned from school. I've learned from taking courses. I've learned from my own damn life experience and all the hot garbage experiences I've had, right? There's a variety of learning, but there are many people that will go out into a field with almost no learning, and because they want to make money. And that's what it boils down to really at the end of the day, is because they want to make money and they think they can make money doing that. And I'm seeing this wave of Ayurvedic practitioners and yogis and all of this, and it's become a buzz around a lot of areas, I would say. And we need to make sure that we're continuing to share relevant information, and just to really hammer home to the audience what's on your side of the equation is to really make sure you're researching who you're working with and ask those important questions about how did you get your experience in this? Where did you learn? How did you learn? How long have you been doing it? Because those are relevant questions to things that are trying to fine tune your health or really get into what you're putting in your body. We don't want to.
I would also add why. Why did you do all of this? Why do you claim to be this? Why did you choose that program? Why do you specialize in this? Why is not asked enough. And
I agree.
Really isn't for anybody who is inspired to. I've written so much on my website, and I do my part in trying to explain my why and how and what. And a lot of, if you go to an Ayurveda practitioner's website who did one of those courses, there isn't a lot of that. And there's a lot of the same cliche statements and mumbo jumbo that was given to them, or here, create this free website. And like the coaching experience you had, it's kind of like, it's watered down. And
we built your business
lot of
for
people, you. Yes, exactly. It's watered down. And then there's this also small, I wouldn't say small, but a good percentage of people within that realm that don't do anything with it, that don't continue the training, continue the work on the self, even the self work that comes with being someone of service and helping someone and being a healer and with some aspect of one's health. And I think that's the most important as well. I think that the Vedic sciences, we need to remember that there is a spiritual and self-work element to these sciences. It's not, how can I attain the most body strength? How can I master herbalism? It's not, it can't be defined like that. It's like when people say that they're breathwork teacher. And I'm like, what does that mean? Are you a breathwork teacher that's not Vedic? Are you a yogic breathwork teacher? Are you teaching the pranayama? Because there's a whole library of breathing. It's just, that's quite a statement that you are a breathwork teacher. I'm like, what? breathwork is one tiny aspect of the whole. So you can't just be a breathwork teacher. So there's also those little nuancy things that is a part of that I wouldn't say problem, I would say opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for enhancing.
Yes, and let us all be more concerned with expansion of our knowledge and our compassion and our care for one another versus fattening our pocketbooks. Like there's this desperation in the world that creates this stress that we like. It's very easy for us to anxiously attach onto something that we think is going to be the solution or is going to be the career that's going to change it all for us. But if anything that we do that's coming from an energy of like desperation or fear, it's going to drag us and others down. So we want to be really clear with it. And I love that you said asking why. When I was a teacher, I drove all the other teachers crazy and all the parents because I would tell my kids, question everything. You don't understand why? Ask. You don't feel like you have the full picture? Ask. Dig a little deeper because there's so much depth to this life. And yet, one of the things I love about the Vedic sciences is that you can find an answer pretty much for every realm of life for how to enhance, tweak, fine-tune, expand into health and alignment by pulling these different strings. But we can't just isolate one string and think it's going to be the solution because it's never going to be.
No, it's very, very true. Very true.
I'm curious if you were to leave our listeners with something about like how they could either start to get curious about this or how they can start to take ownership for their journey, this holistic journey. What would you recommend where would they start from this perspective?
Yes. I would start by integrating more discernment with what you are intaking and digesting when it comes to media, whether it's social media, articles on yoga, Ayurveda-based websites, Vedic websites. Start asking the whys, whether it's internally and then you take action or to a teacher and all that, as well as books. There's a lot of books, a lot of books on yoga specifically, and as well as Ayurveda, and using discernment when it comes to who wrote it and why did they write it and what's their background. And again, everyone is doing their best. It's about intention, but it's also, if someone doesn't have an intention, there's probably a better resource out there. As well as really ask yourself, why? Not to external, but asking yourself why. Why am I interested in this? What is it that I need? What is calling to me? What do I find interesting? What do I find concerning? And then really exploring those questions, because I think that when we ask ourselves why, we get to rediscover ourselves and how we function. But at the same time, we're actually uncovering the real root or the underlying subconscious nature of the concern or the question and so on and so forth. And I think if we have a better understanding of ourselves and where we're coming from, we're going to attract and we're going to align with the people and the books and all sorts of things in the best way possible. And I think that I've done a lot of work in making sure that the people who find me are very aligned and that they know that this is not a clinical medical experience. There's so much more that you may not know. And I'm so looking forward to sharing and teaching you and educating you on. And there's a lot of autonomy and accountability when it comes to the Vedic sciences and healing. That's really about self-work. So understanding that when it comes to the Vedic sciences, and we could just stick to Ayurveda and yoga, there is nothing external that you can depend on. Really about seeking the guidance, seeking the resources and the education, and really understanding these things from someone that you trust and align with, and making sure that you're being guided and supported along the way. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. There's no Band-Aid. There's no temporary fix. And I think we all need to do a better job in communicating that these things are not quick. And it does take a level of commitment. And I tell people all the time, yes, this is a transitional period. This is a phase. This is not going to take a day. It may take a year. It depends on you and your willingness to learn, to understand, and then implement the changes. I think that with other health modalities, and whether it's medicine or simply lifestyle, we need to talk more about and understand more about the relationship with self. And that's why my practice is very much centered around being heart-led and leading with the heart, but having that really strong relationship with self and knowing that this is solid and grounded. And I feel confident that I can understand and I can make the changes and I can ask the questions and seek further clarification.
Empowerment. We believe in your empowerment. You're empowered.
Empowerment and embodiment.
I love, yes, empowerment and embodiment. If we can have those two things in our life, we can do anything. Anything. So thank you for all of the wisdom that you've shared today, and go check out her website because you have so many beautiful things on there. It's a gorgeous website. You've got all kinds of great information. Your newsletter is fantastic. So
thank you.
Thank you for the wisdom that you share and your passion for educating yourself and others so that they can be empowered and embodied. Like it's an important mission in the world, and I'm honored to know you. So thank you.
Oh, I gotcha. And just a little tidbit. I do not take responsibility for any of this. I didn't create any of it. I am a channel. I'm a guide. I'm a teacher. And I am just honored that not only am I deeply, profoundly connected to the Vedas, but I am just love talking and sharing and helping people. So I am not saying I'm a master. I'm not saying that I'm a guru. I just want to share and help people as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, you'll meet them where they're at, and then you'll figure out what you don't know from there if you don't know it. So
exactly.
Yes, well,
it happens to all of us.
It does. We all have our places to grow and to learn, and we've explored a lot of them today. Jess Marie, again, thank you so much. I will be back either with myself or another special guest very soon. Thank you all for listening in on this beautiful conversation. Until next time, I'm Safrianna Luna.
That brings us to the end of this conversation today. Thanks for being brave enough to walk in the shadows with me. If you found value in this episode, please consider subscribing to Shadowside with Safrianna wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave a review to help others find this space of transparency and expansion. You can also connect with me at safrianna.com or livinglunas.com for more information. Until next time, know I'm loving you fiercely and cheering you on.